William Whalen here for GetMoreSports.com, and we're going to look at my first team, 5 non-power conference All-Americans. These guys perform at such a high level. Sure, they could be playing at the quote-unquote high major schools, and one of them even does play at a school that redefined what mid-major means. But nonetheless, these guys play in non-conference powers, obviously all performing at a high level, and they are my first team non-power All-Americans. First up is Nick Moore, and that's Nick without a K from SMU. Down in the hilltop playing for Larry Brown. He has been absolutely fantastic. He is surely the straw that stirs the drink for the ranked Mustangs of SMU. Nick Moore is not the most athletically freakish player out there. In fact, there was a chance that he might not even start this year had prized recruit Emmanuel Mudiay actually enrolled in school as opposed to go over to China. He, of course, also could have pushed Mudiay over to the 2. But Nick Moore has been absolutely fantastic. Double-digit points, leads them in points and assists as well. He has really taken over this season and made this team his, blending in Keith Frazier before he was dismissed for academic reasons. That was obviously a huge blow to this team, and yet Nick Moore has kept this team on track. One of the best point guards in America, certainly one of my favorites in the non-power ranks. I'm going to go with Nick Moore at my starting point guard spot. Now, over at the 2, we're going to look at BYU and Tyler Haws. Tyler Haws is one of the great scorers in the country, can fill it up from all 3 levels, just past Jimmer Fredette as BYU's all-time scoring leader. Incredibly impressive from this senior guard. What he does best is he's incredibly creative. I mean, he can beat you from the outside. As I said, he hits you from all 3 levels, but he's not afraid to get teammates involved either. Now, BYU plays a wide-open offensive style. Of course, that caters to his abilities, but you got to have those abilities. You got to have the toolbox. As I say, your skill set is a toolbox, and if you don't have a wrench, if you don't have a Phillips, you're not all together. You do not have the whole package, and he definitely does. If we were doing an all-toolbox team across the country, he would certainly be on it. Tyler Haws is definitely one of the top guards in the country. Then I'm looking at Derek Marks from Boise State. Incredibly impressive performances in the second half of the season, averaging up at 20 points per game, consistently filling it up for this team. He goes out for 34 one night, then bounces back with an 18-point performance. He's shooting over 50% from the field, which is incredibly impressive again for somebody who scores at his type of volume. And he is the single reason why Boise State got back into the bubble conversation after starting out conference play 0-3. They ran off 8 straight wins, and a lot of it was on the back of Marks. Really one of the great scoring guards in America that not a lot of people, and definitely not enough people, have talked about. And then, one of the men on the all-man crush team for me this year, Seth Tuttle of Northern Iowa. We're going to learn a lot more about him tonight as they face off with Wichita State. But Seth Tuttle is really one of the great players to do it all. He is what some have called the mid-major Frank Kaminsky. Does it all inside, mid-range, outside, can handle the ball, can shoot the 3, can post you up. Seth Tuttle is a name that you need to know going into March Madness. And then the final starter on my All-America, non-power All-Americans would, of course, be my man Kyle Wiltjer, an Oakland Soldier coming out of high school by way of Portland, Oregon. Of course, goes to Kentucky, transfers to Gonzaga, and really now he's not necessarily in the Player of the Year race nationally because Kaminsky and Jahlil Okafor have just run away with that. But he has completely reinvented himself and found his own star, his inner star power, and expressed it for Mark Few and the Bulldogs, leading the conference in scoring. He's going to be Conference Player of the Year, surely. Kyle Wiltjer is definitely, again, on that team that redefines what you think of as mid-major, but nonetheless, he is on my All-American team for the non-power because he's a stud, an absolute star, and he is, again, the key for this Gonzaga team if they want to make a run in March Madness.